Hey, how's it going? Drew here again, here to talk to you about something a little different. We're going to be talking about nonverbal communication. And actually jumping right into it, we're going to be talking about nonverbal communication in form of the dance Haka by the Polynesian cultures. And now I say Polynesian cultures because exactly there is very, very many different cultures in the Polynesian culture itself. Just to name a few, there's Samoan, Tongan, Hawaiian, Maori from New Zealand, and there's a few more that I probably don't even know. And to say I'm actually dressed for the occasion is this is a shirt from my previous school, Santa Rosa Junior College. As you can see, we're the Bear Cubs. And you can see the flowers that most people will associate with the Polynesian culture, mainly Hawaii. And per se, this was actually the school is very influenced by the Polynesian culture, by the staff, coaches, players that were actually on the team with me. And to say I actually have done the Haka once before is actually very meaningful to me because of the meaning behind it. Now, to say what the Haka actually is, the Haka is actually a historic war dance by the Polynesian culture, originated in times of kings and originated for the reason of actually intimidating your foes before you actually went into battle, to actually make them run away before you actually showed your real strength. Now, you could say the Haka is a display of strength, yet different cultures, as such in Hawaii, made a Haka for victory. The Maori were known, or as we know as New Zealanders, were real big on intimidation before battle. And there's many different kinds in between those two different cultures that I'm sure there's tons more. Yet, to focus on a few different things, we're going to be focusing on appearance, some body movements, the proximity on how close those dances take place, some of the time frames, and even how to communicate with some of the people of the culture today. Now, to jump right in, we're going to jump into the appearance, some of the bodily appearances. And one of the major appearances that you will always notice with some of the Polynesian cultures and some of the Polynesian people will be not only the bigger stature, the longer hair, or maybe the darker skin, but you'll notice a lot of markings, a lot of tribal markings, a lot of maybe floral markings, or even tattoos. And per se, some of the tattoos that were actually really big in the Polynesian culture, and even some of those historic times, were some of the traditional tattoos, say like a pea. So a pea is going to be really big in the Samoan and Hawaiian culture, and those peas are really spiritual because those are actually old school tap tattoos where there was a needle on one stick and a bigger stick to tap the ink into your skin. And now what those tattoos were used for were actually just to show, hey, look, I've got all this ink tapped into my skin and I went through so much time to do this. I'm so tough that you can't even do this. You shouldn't fight me at all. And now, just to explain what a pea is actually, a pea is actually a tattoo that starts from your hip line and it works its way down your legs, front and back, all the way around to about top of the kneecaps. Now, I've never gotten a tattoo, so I can't say how bad it hurts or not. But I can only imagine how excruciating this tap technique pea would be just for a warrior to go through, just to say, look at me, I've got this tattoo, don't fight me. Now, if you really want to get on into battle forms and battle attire, you could say you're so used to seeing armor, suits of armor, and big swords and such. Yeah, that's completely different for the Polynesian culture. You can already know the climate is warmer, it's tropical, but they didn't really believe in armor. They really believed in showing off my body mass and showing off how big I was compared to how big you're not. And that itself was just to intimidate you and make you turn and run. So we don't have to waste our energy over this pointless fight, because if you're not man enough to sit here and fight with me because I look bigger than you, and I won already. And now into facial expressions and different things like that is really big on facial expressions mimicking the gods that they worshipped and different, you could say, tiki totems that we know of. And so a common face to see when someone's doing the Haka is to see someone with big, bulging, really wide eyes, or completely open mouths, or a tongue sticking out. Something similar to that would be exactly what you would see on a tiki totem. And that's exact depictions of what the gods they worshipped were. And so what that saying is hey, I look like this God that I worship, and He's all powerful and almighty. And you don't want to mess with me, man. I promise you that. So if we're gonna work our way away from appearances and work our way into body movements. I don't know if anyone has seen, but you can definitely search a video in the search bar up top saying just anything haka. You can say University of Hawaii haka. That's gonna be a great image of a victory dance. You're gonna say, you can go New Zealanders all blacks haka. That's a great pre-battle rugby haka that will show you what real close to ancient hakas were. And so some of those movements, they're gonna be flamboyant. They're gonna be big and aggressive, just to show off and say, you don't want to mess with me, man. And you're gonna have different meanings behind gestures. You're gonna say if you were to have a gesture like this in a dance, that's gonna be, I'm gonna cut your limbs off, per se, just to put it as blunt as possible. Different gestures are always going to mean different things. You're going to have different gestures where if you're doing a victory dance, you're going to do 2 taps, a chest tap, and a praise. Just to say that I'm safe, you're not, I'm going to praise my gods, and we're going to keep it going. And eye contact is huge when you're doing the haka. Eye contact is always going to be a big thing, just like it is today. But back in the day, eye contact, if you saw someone waver from your dance, or you saw someone look away and didn't want to look you in the eyes, you knew you had them beat, just based off of confidence and just based off of the eye contact they would give you or not give you. And now that goes into proximity, because if you're close enough to see if someone's looking directly at you, then you must be close enough to actually touch them or be face to face with them. Now, different dances are going to have different distances, but in times of ancient Polynesian culture, most dances were done between 20, 30 feet away as you're walking up to each other. So you can imagine 2 tribes would walk up to each other and would stop about 20, 30 feet away, maybe a little more. And then if they actually had a pre-war dance, an intimidation dance, they would perform that. Sometimes they would just get closer and closer and closer and closer, and then inevitably the battle would start. And so you could say the proximity ranged pretty much. But if you look up any video today, which mainly is the rugby videos, they actually have a lot of instances where some of the haka dances are this close. The people are going at it, back and forth, making their points known that they are bigger and they are badder and they are better than you. And so you could say the time frames of those dances were only done mainly on the need and necessity to do those dances and to show your power while going into battle. But if we're going to go into today's form of the Polynesian culture, you're not going to see the haka mainly, unless you're watching a rugby match, or unless you're watching a mainly Polynesian team on football-wise on TV, like University of Hawaii, or maybe even Utah, or maybe even if you're watching high school football, that's probably the best place you're going to see it. But you're not going to see the haka just out on the street. If you see a Polynesian person, you're normally going to see how kind and how caring and how nice they are. You're not going to see this huge war dance anymore, mainly because there's no need for it. But it is a remembrance of how history was and how the culture formed into what this dance is today. And with that being said, the haka itself isn't just this huge dance that you see as a display before rugby matches or before football games, but it's something much more. It's actually a link to that history, to what your culture has, and it's very unique to each culture. So you could say Samoan dances are very more aggressive than, say, Hawaiian dances, and now Tongan dances are very similar to Samoan dances because the islands are very close. But New Zealand dances are very, very different from each one because New Zealand's are very, very aggressive. But all in all, the culture itself and the Polynesian cultures that make up Polynesia all have very unique dances, and the dances are very clear images as to what nonverbal communication can do, as it can intimidate someone, it can deter someone, it can praise anyone. It's very important to watch these dances and to see the differences in them. So I really encourage you to watch the University of Hawaii pre or post game dance, and watch the New Zealanders all black rugby match pregame dance. And you can see the differences between those on how praise is the highlight of the University of Hawaii's dance, and intimidation is the highlight of the New Zealanders all-black dance. And with that, that's pretty much all the time we have today, but please, please, please take all the time you want, and please watch those dances, and you will be amazed on the differences on what the nonverbal communication is. All right, thanks, and have a good one.